Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. We're just going to wait a couple seconds on Autumn and we will get started soon. Hey, Autumn, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm Maddie. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So, as some of you may know, to kind of kick off our commemoration of Martin Luther King Jr. and his amazing work and legacy, the MLK committee has very diligently and thoughtfully put together a Snap Talk series where we've heard from amazing student advocates and activists such as you, Autumn. So thank you so much for your willingness to join and take part in this conversation today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I'd just like to start by asking you if you'd be willing to share your story about how you really started working on getting involved in a cause or a movement.
Yeah. So I am of mixed race. My mom is Black and my dad is white. And I sort of always kind of grew up kind of trying to figure out my own personal identity and where I sort of fit in, because people always tried to kind of put me in a box and I didn't really always feel like I fit into that box. And so I did a lot of personal kind of educating myself, kind of trying to figure out my identity, and also kind of racial justice and racism in the world that we live in today. And so I kind of always sort of had an interest in that due to my background. And so that kind of led me through middle school and high school. And then as I came to Bucknell, I definitely kind of went out of my way to kind of learn more. I took a class on structural racism, and that was a really big kind of turning point in my life. And it was very much clear that these issues are really big in our world today. And like I needed to kind of learn more and continue to educate myself, as well as kind of share that education with others. And then another big point was when Opal Tometi came to campus last year and talked to a lot of student athletes. And I don't know how many people might know this that are on this video today, but she is one of the co-founders of the Black Lives Matter movement. And so just by listening to her, and I was able to speak with her after, I was kind of asking her, like, how do I become more public about my feelings and the things that I've kind of gone out of my way to educate myself on? How do I get more people to kind of listen and be involved in that? And so that, along with also kind of the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement this summer, I felt like those kind of things kind of came together at a perfect time for me. And I sort of came together with one of my fellow teammates, Abby Cap, and we formed the Patriot League Social Justice a coalition with some other Patriot League members. I'm on the women's basketball team. And so that was kind of how I started kind of having a more active stance. And that kind of led me to doing more on campus this fall as well.
Wow, that's incredible. When you're doing all this work, what's that one spark that kind of like fuels your fire?
I think, like I said before, just having kind of the background of being mixed race,
Mm-hmm.
and always kind of realizing that in a lot of different communities, especially at Bucknell, it's a predominantly white institution. And I think a lot of the things this summer that myself and Abby Cap, as well as the other members of the Patriot League Social Justice Coalition, kind of felt was that there isn't as much representation. Not only is it like within people's stories and backgrounds that I felt like more people should feel comfortable sharing, but then also more diversity and representation among the teams throughout the Patriot League, as well as on campus and within hiring positions and things like that. So I felt like these issues have kind of gone under the rug and sort of been pushed to the background. And I felt like they should be talked about more openly. And so I think that that was kind of the spark that led me to being more involved and more vocal.
That's awesome. So what does your day-to-day life kind of look like with this involvement?
So yeah, right now, obviously it's winter break, so things are a little bit weird, but I am throughout like the school year, I'm also I'm the social responsibility chair for SAC. So kind of figuring out things that we can do throughout this semester was something that was kind of a new role I stepped into this year. as well as kind of with the coalition, trying to kind of continue with social media. I put together a video this fall with the different members of the coalition in it. And then also, I'm also part of Vice and Athletes of Color. So that's a really cool place for me personally, because it's a place where I can come together with people and kind of share experiences that different people have had on campus, and also kind of get a firsthand in some speakers. We talked with Dr. Johnson from the CDC and like things like that. It's just really, oh, sorry,
You're
more
fine.
kind of a cool, well-rounded kind of perspective as a student athlete and a woman of color.
That's so cool. And my last question for you is, through all of this, what sustains you?
I think one of the things that sort of sustains me is kind of, it can be exhausting a lot of times, like knowing that there's so many big issues in the world. And especially this year, one of the big things was obviously um, kind of getting people involved with voting. And then also the election was a very exhausting time. And then obviously with COVID as well, being able to tackle and kind of handle all of the big issues of the world and kind of settle into that is either kind of getting more educated on things that I don't fully understand, but then also kind of taking time to myself and practicing like self-care and self-love. So whether that be like meditating or also like practicing yoga, which I really like, finding ways to kind of care for yourself, even when things are really hard around you. Or in the bigger world and society, there's a lot of things that are difficult. So I think just kind of being able to take care of yourself while also being able to stand up and talk about big issues at the same time.
I completely agree. That sentiment of self-care is so important when you're doing this work, because it's so important, but it can also be very time consuming. And so I completely agree with you on that. Is there anything else you would like to share with everyone today?
No, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me. And I think that one of the first steps is just getting educated. So whether it be something small like listening to a podcast or reading a book or
Mhm.
just going out of your way, kind of putting yourself in a position where you might not feel completely comfortable and kind of stretching whatever it might be, like your rubber band or whatever. That kind of sounds cheesy, but just doing something that's kind of out of your comfort zone, I think is really important. And I hope that I continue to do that for myself and that other people do that as well.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciated having this conversation with you and your openness and your willingness to have it. So thank you, and thank you to everyone that's been watching. Have a
Thank you
good
so
night.
much. Bye.
Bye.